Modern tennis is quite different from the original tennis, which was popular in 13th century France. The original game was played on an indoor court with the palm of one's hand. In the 17th century, rackets came into use, but the game was still played indoors and was referred to as real tennis. During the late 1800s, the game we know and love today came into being in Britain and quickly spread around. Tennis is a relatively easy sport to pick up, with the ability to play with either 2 or 4 players, 1 to 2 per team, and the only equipment needed being a racket and a tennis ball. The racket can be made from a variety of materials, with the most common of which being fiberglass. Tennis balls are hollow balls of vulcanized rubber, which are covered in yellow felt. Both racket and ball can vary in size, but the accepted parameters are established by the many different international tennis organizations. The modern-day game can be played on grass, clay, or cement courts, each court presenting its own benefits and challenges. The basic rules involve one player serving the ball to another player by hitting the ball across the court both lengthwise and widthwise to land it in the opposite front box on the opposition side. The opposing player will then return the ball by hitting it over the net and landing it in bounds. A point is scored when the opposing player either fails to return a ball over the net or hits the ball out of bounds. Another way points can be scored is if the opposing player either hits the net twice consecutively trying to serve, or if the serve doesn't land in the designated box. The boundaries are defined by a series of white lines painted on the court. The inner lines are used for the 2-player or singles game, while the outer lines are used for the 4-player or doubles game. The line in the center of the court lengthwise is referred to as the service line. It is what marks the line the players must serve across, along with the length of the court while serving. Any ball that strikes a line marking the boundary is declared inbounds. Finally, the net separating the 2 halves of the court serves as a barrier and a boundary between each player's domain. The scoring of a tennis match is quite complicated, with each match being broken up into a sequence of sets, and each set being broken up into a sequence of games. A game is played until one player has at least 4 points and is winning by 2. The names of the points are unique to tennis and are referred to as love, 15, 30, and 40, or for 1, 2, 3, and 4 points, respectively. If the score becomes tied at 40-40, or at any later point, it is referred to as a deuce. And when one player takes a 1-point lead out of a deuce, it is called an advantage in or an advantage out, depending on which player leads. Lastly, the score is always said with the serving player's score first. A set is a series of games, with the serve being alternated between games, usually played to 6 games and a lead of 2 games. If the leading player has won 6 and the defending player has won 5, a game is played to determine the winner. If the leading player wins, they win the set. If the losing player wins, a tiebreak is then played to determine the true winner. Matches are usually a series of 3 or 5 sets, but often recreational players will just play the amount of sets they have the time and the stamina for. There's much more to tennis than just the basics I've shared with you. But through playing it, you pick up much of the sense of the game and the technique you need to be a proficient player.